It's the middle of August, and that means it's time for another episode of Chronic Briefs. Yeah, God, I can't believe summer is almost over already. Yeah, well, yes, in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be hemisphereist, whatever. The point is, it's almost autumn, my favorite season of the year. Not too hot, not too cold, not too wet, not too dry. You know, it's really the Goldilocks of seasons. Yeah, if you think about it. You know, that reminds me though, Goldilocks, why was the just right bed at the end? Wouldn't it be hard, medium, soft, like it usually is? And speaking of children's stories, if you want this fairy tale called Chronic Briefs to continue, please, please, please give us a like, a share, a subscribe. It'll help get our message out to as many people as possible. Now, though, since it's the middle of the month, it's time for, you guessed it, CBNN, the Chronic Briefs News Network. We'll start, like we usually do, with a story about rheumatoid arthritis, the illness I have, and thus am probably biased towards, as we discussed previously. It seems that patients with rheumatoid arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis are at a higher risk for acute emergency department visits and hospitalizations due to mental health conditions. Yeah. According to a study published in Therapeutic Advances in Musculoskeletal Disease, Canadian researchers claim that patients with RA and AS have about a 35% increased risk for hospitalization with mental illness. Now, I have to be honest, I can't say I'm surprised about this. Living with chronic illness and disability is about as stressful as planning a beach day for a shy vampire. Yeah, give me my sunblock. Boo! Yeah, I didn't know they made SPF 1000. You get it. The point is that constant fear, the preparation for the unknown, and let's face it, the physical pain is a constant drain on your energy, emotional health, and positivity. It's hard to stay upbeat when most of the time you feel like you've been run over by a semi-truck that's hauling other semi-trucks. And those trucks are hauling rocks. Big. Yeah, it's near impossible. It took me years to find a way to keep my cool and cavalier attitude despite years of excruciating pain, so it's no surprise that sometimes those who are chronically ill and disabled need a helping hand. I was even offered antidepressants by a pain management doc because there's been a link insinuated between depression and pain. Talk about a feedback loop. You're in pain, which makes you depressed, which puts you more in pain, which makes you even more depressed. And before you know it, you're crying on the couch while listening to Sarah McLachlan and looking at pictures of sad dogs on the internet all night. Anyway, our next report comes from the Duh department because why not? Researchers at Johns Hopkins have found that a 6-week course of cholesterol-lowering medication improved the function of coronary arteries that provide oxygen to the heart. Yeah, shocking. It seems that people who suffer from HIV and take antiretrovirals have an increased risk of cardiovascular disease as a result of course, chronic inflammation due to the illness. Man, if I had a nickel for every time chronic inflammation had a hand in something. Chronic inflammation is like the Elon Musk of symptoms. Every time you look, he's doing something else ridiculous. Hardening arteries, causing cancer, tweeting insane stuff about his own company just every day. In this study, published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, the researchers suggest that there may be a way to limit cardiovascular disease risk in those living with HIV and other cardiovascular risk factors, such as high cholesterol, by improving the function of blood vessels. Yeah, come on guys, was this a slow news month or something? It's like telling them the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Or singing it. The sun will come out. Anyway, whatever, forget it. I know this isn't exactly earth-shattering breaking news, but I suppose it's somewhat of a comfort for those like me who have heart disease caused by a chronic illness and disability. On a serious note, though, people don't consider chronic inflammation the threat that it is. One of my rheumatologists once told me that the chronic inflammation caused by my RA was as if I spent the last 20 years smoking cigarettes and drinking beer and having sex. Not that last one, but you get the picture. It's that serious. So it's good to know at least they are still working on mitigating one aspect of it. Next, because here we do consider mental illness to be just as serious as any physical condition, we have this report. In a new study published in Psychiatric Services, a research team investigated the impact of a texting intervention add-on to a mental health treatment program. They determined that text messaging can be a safe, clinically promising, and feasible tool to augment care for people with serious mental illness. So, in other words, those people who now need to speak with a professional can also speak by text if they have no other way to do it. Of course, I do wonder if they will do something about the ellipses. You know, those 3 dots that appear when someone is writing something, or more importantly, when someone writes something and then decides not to send it like an animal. I mean, I know you wrote something. Was it an answer to my question? Did you tell me you like quiche? Or did you tell me to go myself? It drives me crazy! Which is a word I would never associate with any mental illness, but it's something I think they'll have to figure out before they implement this plan fully. Even still, it seems that over 90% of the people who participated in this study said it made them feel better and that they'd recommend it to a friend, which is great because I am always a fan of something that makes it easier for more people to see qualified doctors. I mean, in terms of rheumatologists, it's epidemic how many people have trouble seeing one. Side note, I can also think of one other potential issue with this treatment. What if the patient's mental illness is addiction to texting? Then what? That would kind of like be treating a pyromaniac by sending smoke signals. Yeah, dubious at best, arson at worst. Also, how do you send smoke signals? I never knew. Is there like a box or like one of those fire accordions? No? Well, whatever. We'll check on that and get back to you next time. Now, this next one isn't necessarily an illness per se, but then again, if you asked my grandfather when he was still with us, he'd say it was even worse. Getting old, aging, passing the hands of time, watching the sand drain out of the hourglass, eating all the chips and, well, you get it. To put it succinctly, again, like my granddad, getting old is not for the faint of heart. And when you are getting old, plus chronically ill and disabled, it's double death. It's funny, you know, I used to think that when I got old, you know, because I'm not old yet, and if you say that I am, I'll kill you, that I'd have a leg up on everyone else, because let's be honest, I've had the body of a 90-year-old since I was 16. So I figured when the aches and pains of old age hit, I'd be an old hand by then, forgive the pun. You know how much we love puns. Anyway, here's the thing. I didn't consider, though, the synergistic factor. That's a science word that means togetherness, right? And that it wasn't getting old plus RA, it was getting old times RA. Yeah, so that sucks, right? Sort of off track, but whatever. Anyway, the researchers at the University of Edinburgh and the Max Planck Institute for Biology of Aging suggested that healthy levels of iron in the blood could be a key to aging better and living longer. Yeah, what? Iron? Hemoglobin? The thing I'm always low of? Great. Anyway, that could lead to a medication that not only slows aging, but also will help make those who are aging more healthy. Great. Wonderful. Best news I heard all day. So to sum up, not only will I have to suffer from RA multiplied by aging, but the thing that scientists now think makes aging easier and staves it off longer is a thing that I regularly test extremely low for. Amazing. Maybe I should go start sucking on some rusty pipes. Or eat a fireplace poker. Or, worst of all, spinach? Ugh. Anyway, this whole news report got completely off track. I'm sorry for that. Anyway, you can read about it below if you wanted to. Now, look, I know I promised last time that we'd come up with a good newscaster name, but frankly, everything that works out pretty much sucked. Yeah, we're going to keep trying, though. I promise we're going to keep trying, and when we come upon a good newscaster name, we will definitely use it. For now, though, this will probably be the last CBNN news report in Season 1 of Chronic Briefs. So please, 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 if you like the show and you like what we do here, please give us a like, a subscribe, a share, a comment, a smoke signal, anything to help get the news out and the word out about chronic illness and disability. As always, though, be kind, rewind, keep on keeping on, and we'll talk soon. It always goes small, medium, large. So why would Goldilocks and the bears put everything in the middle? Small, large, medium? That's crazy!